I was the oldest, the prince said, and yet I am the last. After Moors and Oliver died in their cradles, I gave up hope of brothers. I was 9 when Elia came, a squire in service at Salt Shore. When the raven arrived with word that my mother had been brought to bed a month too soon, I was old enough to understand that meant the child would not live. Even when Lord Gargolin told me that I had a sister, I assured him that she must shortly die. Yet she lived, by the mother's mercy. And a year later, Oberon arrived, squalling and kicking. I was a man grown when they were playing in these pools. Yet here I sit, and they are gone. Hey guys, Kevin here. And today I want to talk about an important character that is often overlooked in the world of Ice and Fire. But she's an important character, and understanding what happened with her, and to her, is critical to understanding the story. The first thing to know about Elia Martell was that she was of very fragile health. As Prince Doran says in the quote at the beginning of this video, Elia was born a month early. When Oberon talks about his trip to Casterly Rock, the one that ends with him seeing a baby Tyrion, and not the monster he was promised, he mentions that Elia found it all exciting. She was of that age, and her delicate health had never permitted much travel. When Daenerys asked Sir Barristan Selmy if Elia treated her brother Rhaegar badly, Sir Barristan responds, "The princess was a good and gracious lady, though her health was ever delicate." Rhaegar's best friend, Jon Connington, thinks, "Elia was never worthy of him. She was frail and sickly from the first, and childbirth only left her weaker. After the birth of Princess Rhaenys, her mother had been bedridden for half a year, and Prince Aegon's birth had almost been the death of her. She would bear no more children," the maesters told Prince Rhaegar afterward. And finally, Jaime Lannister speculates that his father held off on marrying Cersei because he believed that Rhaegar's wife would soon die in childbirth, claiming that Elia of Dorne was never the healthiest of women. Princess Elia's ill health was widely known in the Seven Kingdoms, and likely made her brooding, gloomy husband a bit more brooding and gloomy. Their marriage was a political one, and political marriages are not often characterized by love in this series. Think of Cersei and Robert, Joffrey and Margaery, Daenerys and Hazdar, Ramsay and Sansa in the show. Infidelity accompanied many of those marriages. It is not often that we see a political marriage characterized by love and fidelity in the series, and the closest analogy I can think of to Prince Rhaegar and Princess Elia is that of Sansa and Tyrion. When Daenerys asked Sir Barristan if her brother Rhaegar married for love or duty, the old knight responded, "Princess Elia was a good woman, your grace. She was kind and clever, with a gentle heart and a sweet wit. I know the prince was fond of her." Tyrion was also fond of Sansa, but did not love her. Sansa did not know of the love affair between her husband and her handmaiden, but she probably would not have cared if she did. She may have even encouraged it. It's worth noting that Elia's ill health could not have left much time for physical affection, especially after the birth of Prince Aegon. And although it's not clear what Elia's views on marriage are, we know that her best friend growing up was her brother, Prince Oberyn Martell, whose views on marriage and sexuality we are all very familiar with. Oberyn's own love affair with a bastard would be looked down upon in most places in Westeros, but in Dorne it was celebrated. Many tragic things happened to Elia of Dorne, but her husband finding love in the arms of another woman might not have been one of them. The marriage of Rhaegar and Elia had a peculiar beginning. Elia and Oberyn's trip to Casterly Rock was not just to see the monster born of Tywin Lannister. They didn't know about Tyrion's birth until they were well on their way to Casterly Rock. Joanna Lannister, Tywin's wife, and the Princess of Dorne were friends and hoped to marry their children. The trip was to match Oberyn Martell with Cersei Lannister, and Elia with Jaime Lannister. On the way, they met with other suitors, all of which Oberyn made fun of. But when the Princess of Dorne reached Casterly Rock, her friend Joanna had died in a bloody bed. She had to deal with an angry and distraught Tywin, who refused to marry his daughter to anyone but Prince Rhaegar. When the Princess of Dorne offered to marry her daughter Princess Elia to Jaime, Tywin told her that he would marry her to Tyrion instead. Furious, the Princess of Dorne put in motion a plan to rip Tywin's marriage dreams apart. She married her own daughter to Prince Rhaegar, a decision that ultimately cost Princess Elia her life. For her part, Princess Elia was very fond of baby Tyrion. Oberyn tells us that Elia even made that noise young girls make at the sight of infants. I'm sure you heard it, the same noise that they make over cute kittens and playful puppies. I believe she wanted to nurse you herself, ugly as you were. But the Lannisters were the death of Elia Martell. Her daughter of 2 or 3, Princess Rhaenys, was killed by Sir Amory Lorch, who was a name on Arya's list at Harrenhal. Elia's son, Aegon, was killed in front of her by Sir Gregor Clegane. Her real son, Aegon, was killed by Sir Gregor Clegane. The Mountain then famously raped and murdered the Princess of Dorne and of the Seven Kingdoms. Tywin comments in a conversation with Tyrion that although Elia's children had to die to secure Robert Baratheon's throne, Elia herself was no threat, and should not have been killed. When Tyrion asks, then why did the Mountain kill her? Tywin responds, because I did not tell him to spare her. I doubt I mentioned her at all. I had more pressing concerns. Ned Stark's van was rushing south from the Trident, and I feared it might come to swords between us. And it was in Aerys to murder Jaime with no more cause than spite. That was the thing I feared most. That, and what Jaime himself might do. Nor did I yet grasp what I had in Gregor Clegane. Only that he was huge and terrible in battle. The rape. Even you will not accuse me of giving that command, I hope. Thus was the life and times of Elia Martell, Princess of Dorne and the Seven Kingdoms. A woman of poor health, a pawn in the war between the Lannisters and the Martells, who died because she was an afterthought to Tywin Lannister. A casualty in the love affair between her husband Prince Rhaegar Targaryen and Lady Lyanna Stark of Winterfell. And an example of the tragedy that the Game of Thrones inspires. Like, comment, subscribe, share, check out my other videos. I am setting up my Patreon now, so if you can, please support my channel. Every dollar helps, so if you can pledge $1 or more a month, please do so. In any case, thanks for watching, and I'll be back with more videos soon.